Welcome to Around Town, and we are in the office of Don Bulluck. And welcome, Don. Thank you for letting us come. And whenever anybody hears Don Bulluck, I think of Don Bulluck Chevrolet. That's kind of good. It is a good thing that people think of that. But you're gonna help us you're gonna be everybody's favorite professor. You're gonna give us a lot of history of Rocky Mount today. And we want to capture that. There's not a lot of people really know and have the wealth of information about how things were downtown and different entities in town like you do. So we're just really tickled that you're willing to share some of your wisdom with us. So thank you.
Glad to. Hope I can remember some of the things you're asking.
Well, I'm sure you can. The Don Bulluck Bel Air, I don't know the exact name of when it started, but it started in 1917. Is that correct?
Can I go back a little bit before that?
Sure.
My daddy was the youngest of 5 children, and he was, being the youngest, he was a little bit on the spoiled side. And he would work for one brother a while and work for another while. Whenever he got mad at one, he'd go work with the other. And but he had a knack for selling. And his oldest brother, somewhere, came in possession of some cars. And knowing that my father had sold gramophones, you know what a gramophone is?
Mm-hmm.
He sold all he had. So he asked me if he would dispose of these cars for him, help him sell these cars. So he did. And in a very short time, he'd sold all the cars they had. So by then, he and my mother were married, and they would drive to Richmond and buy used cars. Don't ask me why Richmond now, but they go to Richmond and buy used cars. They'd both ride up in one car and buy a car and bring it back. Then another. And finally, they got 2 people to go with them. And he sold my brother's cars on a little lot over on Tarver Street, near May and Gorham.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started selling his cars down on Tarver Street, May and Gorham. And it proved to be quite successful. So he had a chance to get into the building down, we called it the Pepsi-Cola building, down on South Washington Street, and was there for a number of years. All this was prior to 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved to Sunset Avenue in an old delivery stable, a horse stable there on Sunset Avenue. And in 1931, during the Depression, the people who owned what is now the Bel Air Artisan Center
Mm-hmm.
couldn't afford the building. They lost it during the Depression, and the bank let my father buy it strictly on time. So that's where that building came about, the Bel Air Artisan Building. But at that time, it was called Bulluck Auto Sales Company.
Mm-hmm.
In 1917, that's when the official starts, he was 18, and Chevrolet asked him if he would start selling cars for them, selling Chevrolets. It was a small company. And he did start selling cars with them. And he ran this business up until, well, during World War II, cars were not available. They were scarce. They were not being produced. Everything was going to the government.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, it became just a service center. And after the war, when cars started coming back again, he started back in the business again. And in 1960, I was able to acquire it from him and stayed in that building for about 10 years. And at that time when I acquired it, I changed the name to Bel Air. At that time, Bel Air was the top car in the Chevrolet line.
Mm-hmm.
So I changed the name to Bel Air Chevrolet Company. And when I moved out on the bypass in 1970, we changed the name back. Or changed the name, not back, changed the name to Don Bulluck Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
So virtually that's the history of it. My boys now own it. I own a little piece of it, but now both my sons, Bill and Trey Bulluck, Don III, now own the building. So,
When did you add Cadillacs?
beg your pardon?
You added Cadillacs at one point too, didn't you?
Cadillac, when GM started doing some realigning, they closed out several dealerships, several lines, and Cadillac became available to me. And I don't recall the time really, but we had it for about 5 years until GM went under, and we just did not renew that, and so we dropped and stayed with just Chevrolet.
Don, one of the things that I think not many people realize is automobile dealer owners used to be really, really involved as movers and shakers in the community. I mean, they were philanthropic. I heard one story that they provided all the vehicles for pulling the floats in the parades. You had a personal commitment to help reward good students. Tell us about that. That's neat.
I am proud of that. We had a good time. About 1965, 64, 63 maybe, I started a program from the dealership. We were Bel Air at that time, that each month during the school year, we would supply a car to the then white school and the black school, Rocky Mountain High School and Booker T High School, for outstanding students. The teachers selected a person each month, and we gave them a car to drive for 30 days. Outstanding people. At that time, we had the Corvairs. You probably remember Corvair.
Sure.
And, well, later when Nader wrote his book about unsafe at any speed, some of the mothers didn't like the children driving Corvairs, so we switched to Camaros. But it was a very successful program. We had a good time with it, met some wonderful people there. The only one I know now in Rocky Mountain is Dick Bethune's wife,
Janet.
She was one of the recipients of it there. And, and I've got pictures of them that are now. The pictures are down at the old Bel Air, down at the Bel Air Artists and so on. So it was a good time. Met some wonderful people and some good kids. I wish we could continue the program, but times and liabilities changed. We had to stop.
Well, yeah, the liability issues and whatnot, and doing something like that now.
No, it couldn't. But that's just one thing that automobile dealers have always done things. They're part of the community, and they've always supported so many things in Rocky Mountain.
Well, and of course for WHIG, I mean, y'all have been making the morning show possible for a long time too, which I think.
We've been on that for quite a while now. That's a story in itself, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, but you mentor each other too. I know David Ferris said that you took him under wing, that you helped him, and he had a great story about vans, that you helped provide vans for the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, there's so many things behind the scenes. People just had no idea that y'all were providing things like that. But
well, there's no need. We're just glad to do it. We make our money off the community, so why not give it back to them there? So we're happy to do that. David Ferris is and I have been friends for years, and I'm very proud of David and what he's done. He's a good man.
Let's talk about something very near and dear to your heart, the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes.
There was a time, I think, when you became involved when it was struggling. Tell us kind of what happened in the community.
Well, it did. Boys and Girls Club, as many organizations have peaks and valleys, and they're in one of the valleys at that time, and the building was over on, it was really a gymnasium building is all they had, and they had lost interest, and they were really in bad shape. And for some reason, someone asked me if I would go on the board. That's a misnomer to get together, really, just a few people getting together. I remember Antonio Lawrence was on the board, and he and I took an interest in it, and just decided it was worth trying to do something. And so together, we hired Frankie Bordeaux as a director. But the club had no money, had no way to pay Frankie. So we agreed that we would foot the bill for Frankie for 12 months. And if it wasn't successful after 12 months, we would do away with it. And it was successful, has been successful. And then we got a lot of support from other people. They had a fund drive, and David Smith, bless his soul, helped us a great deal. He's one I won't name, and many others there. So many people helped with this, but the Boys Club is such an outstanding organization that I'm just proud to have been a part of helping it get back on its feet. I didn't do it, but it get back on its feet.
But the great building with the Lucy Brewer building now, and I mean, Ron Green does an outstanding job.
Reed Rhodes was a fundraiser for that. Give him a lot of credit too. Well, the whole city did it. Don Music, I can name many of the ones that come to mind. They were part of it, but they realized it's such a good organization there. And if I may, you asked me earlier if I've done some decoy making.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also proud of that I make a Swan Decoy and have made a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I have made a point to, if you will give to the boys club, I'll give you a decoy.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I've had about 200 of those, and I'm real pleased that we've had that much support.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I've had a good time doing it, and the boys club has profited by it. And the boys club Ron's done a wonderful job.
Oh, he has. Do you still make those decoys?
Beg pardon?
Do you still make the decoys?
Well, I made what I think will be my last one this past week. My hands just gotten too old, and at 90, you can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't say I won't make some more, but I still make them now. I made 3 this past couple of months there, probably my last ones there. Yeah.
Well, and you showed me the Currituck Swan Decoy that you put on the bottom of it. Would you read this to us? Let you do this.
Oh,
This goes
yeah.
on the bottom of every one of them.
This Swan's not original. The decoy's not original with me, but as I said here, the Currituck Swan Decoy is patterned after those made by famous decoy makers from down and around Water Lily, North Carolina, on Church's Island, such as Joe Hamlin, Bob Morris, Manny Haywood. The head, neck, and bottom are made out of juniper wood. The frame is made out of galvanized wire and nylon twine, and is covered with duck cloth secured with copper tacks and painted with at least 2 coats of waterproof paint. As I go on to say here now, the old timers would cover that decoy with any cloth that was available, flour sacks, sailcloth, anything, and would repaint them after every gunning season. And many times they would build up 8 or 10 coats of paint before they had to recover them.
Mm-hmm.
As I go on to say here, only 2 decoy makers I know that make what's called a drop-tail decoy, Jimmy Market and myself. And now that I'm getting ready to stop, I don't make any more drop-tail decoys there. So I'm proud to have made them and love doing them there.
Well, and we're going to show a picture. You were in a documentary that was sponsored out of a team came down of videographers from Chapel Hill and recreated a video that's now playing still in, Corolla. Are they still playing it?
Well, we had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of work. It was a group out of Chapel Hill that made this documentary, and it's still shown right now at the Wildlife Museum at Corolla. I encourage everybody to go by and see it. The whole program is about 20 minutes, and it took about 4 days to 5 days to record it. We had a lot of fun, and it shows the old time way it happened back probably the turn of the century there. So
in costume and everything, right?
Full costume and everything. And Fred Dunstan from Rocky Mountain also was in it. We had a good time making it, and it really is. It's period. You need to see it. It's quite interesting there. So I'm proud to be a part of it. We had a good time.
Don, you know what we hadn't talked about yet? Martha. We definitely need to talk about Martha. We mentioned Martha. Trey and Bill, and of course we hadn't mentioned your daughter either, who's very accomplished, just like her brothers. But tell us the history of how you and Martha met. I think that's fun.
Oh my goodness me. Well, I was at, I went to North Carolina State College at the time now, and my junior year I ran for him and became head cheerleader at State. But at that time we had 4,800 students. Out of that, it was 48 of them were female.
48?
48. Only 48 students were female.
Lucky girls.
At that time, unbelievable. But many of the students are not what you call beauty queens. That's putting it mild, you understand. But when I became head cheerleader, we had no spirit at all, none. So I got my cheerleaders together. We would go out in the community and find girls and go to their parents and say, if you will let your daughter cheer, I will personally pick them up, take them to the game while we cheer, bring them back home, and make sure they're safe all the time. And we did. And there were 4 of us that chose that found these girls were brought in. Incidentally, well, let me back up, I keep going. So I was one of them, and I picked up a girl named Martha Cope. I'd go get my date, and she and I would ride over to Martha's house. I'd pick Martha up, we'd go to game and cheer, then we'd come back and take Martha back home, and my date and I would go to the fraternity house. Left about 2 times or 3 times doing it. I said, this is foolish. Why don't we just date? So we did. We started dating, and well, now we've been married for 65 years. So
wonderful.
We lasted. And the one thing about this, out of the 4 that did it, 3 of us married.
Huh? Well, she went to Broughton, didn't she?
She was Broughton. She was at Broughton.
Was she a cheerleader at Broughton?
No, I don't know how or why she agreed to do it or why we selected. We were just one of the people that we knew, and she was dating fraternity brothers of mine, so she was not a stranger. So, but she agreed to do it, and she called me Simon Legree because I made her jump up and down and cheer and all.
Oh.
So, but that's where we met and married. That's 65 years ago now.
And the history of your daughter, who's your oldest child, where'd you get her name? I think that's kind of cute.
Oh my, I shouldn't tell this. Names come from other places. While Martha and I were dating, far from serious dating, went to a movie. And in the movie, one of the characters' name was Corby. I think it was Corby. We just liked the name. So years later, we married. We named our daughter middle name Corby, Corbi. So she came from the movie. So, but Corby's quite a gal. She wanted to become an airline pilot and did, and flew as an airline pilot for a number of years, and later came back to North Carolina and worked for the Department of Transportation, flying in the flying division of North Carolina Department of Transportation. And she's been retired about 2 years now. But she's quite a pilot. She won the what originally was called a Paddle Puff Derby, a nationwide race. She won that last year, the year before last, and this now she has been elected to the office of president of the international organization of women pilots called 99s.
Wow.
That keeps her pretty busy right now.
Yeah.
She loves her flying. She still flies all she can, and she's a good gal.
And she was a Moorhead Scholar, right?
Oh yeah, she was a Moorhead Scholar. That's a long story you wouldn't want to go into, but she got into flying because we didn't have to pay for her education because she was a Moorhead Scholar. So she decided she loves to pay for her education in flying. So we did. Glad to do it.
Well, it sounds like she excels in everything she does.
She does. She's quite good.
And your sons, of course, everybody loves Trey and Bill and their contributions and involvement in the community too.
They're both nice kids. They own and run the dealership now. I retain a small interest, but they own it and run it and doing a good job, doing better than I did. I think I did better than my father, and I know they're doing better than I did.
Well, at one point, I believe you were one of the top selling dealers in the whole country. Is that correct?
No, I was not selling dealer, but Time Magazine had a program called Time Dealer Award. And each year, states submitted who they thought were one of the top dealers in the state. Not necessarily volume, but just top dealer. And I was very fortunate to have been selected as a top dealer in North Carolina one year.
Wonderful.
And in the state, in the nation, I ended up 8th in the nation. Very proud of that. But let's say this now. Joe Nelson was also chosen outstanding dealer, and David Ferris was too. So we've had some good people here.
Well, we like that. I mean, this is Rocky Mount, so it's honoring the family when y'all win things like that.
And also, I was fortunate to be president of the Dealer Association. So with David Ferris, this is the state association. David Ferris was, and so was Joe Nelson. In addition, Alan Mims, who you probably don't remember his name, is way back. He was also a president. We've had a lot of presidents from Rocky Mountain. We're proud of that.
Well, in Rocky Mount, when you look at the banking industry, I think people know a lot about Peoples and Planters and the history of banks that started here. But we need to also know what you're sharing with us today about automobile dealerships and their leadership roles in the state. So we're proud of that too as a community.
We have had not only good automobile dealers, but good people in Rocky Mountain. And automobile is just a part of it now. We expect to be. We supposed to, as I said before, we make a living off the community. We should give back to the community. And we try to. I think we do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think, and if we went through chairing the chamber and your various leadership roles in the community, we'd be here the rest of the time. But I'm going to, instead of embarrassing you by saying that, just say, thank you for doing that. But also, let's talk about your passion, hunting.
Hunting and shooting, yes, it is
You
my
have
passion.
you have for years gone various places to hunt, right? And as well as in North Carolina.
Oh yes, I've been very, very fortunate. I've hunted Argentina, Uruguay, Canada, all across the United States in various places. Elk hunting in Colorado, deer hunting, duck hunting. I love it. I love it.
Well, I want to
love
say,
shooting and dove hunting too. Mhm.
and y'all eat. Is either you or somebody else eats what you shoot? Is that correct?
Oh yes, oh yes. If we don't, you don't shoot unless you eat it. And I've gotten old now, but I still got a passion for hunting. Still love it, and I'm very fortunate to have a small farm over in Edgecombe County.
Mm-hmm.
And during the deer hunting season, I'm hunting almost every afternoon, unless it's raining or bad. And I haven't shot a deer in 2 years, but it's not. I don't care about the shooting part.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there watching, and I've got pictures of deer that unbelievable in the area, and got a lot of turkeys.
Do you mount any of the heads of them?
No, I don't. Mounting takes up such space and all, so I don't do that. But I have a rule: if you come to my farm and hunt, and very few people do, if you shoot a deer, you've got to mount it. Now, if you want one to eat, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you shoot a buck deer,
Mm-hmm.
the horn need to be big enough to mount.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as a result of the policy I have of what to shoot and what not to shoot, got some nice big deer now. But that's just a passion. And I also love quail hunting, dove hunting, duck hunting. Up until right recently, I hunted all the time. Every duck season I hunted all the time. And again, the age takes its toll. So you asked me about earlier about my decoys. I got into decoy making because I was a member of a hunting club down on Currituck Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And down there, the old timers made the decoys. And so that's what got me started in them. And so, love the hunting, love the decoys, love the history.
Yeah, and that's so much a part of Eastern North Carolina for people to enjoy the outdoors and the sportsmanship that come with that, with the hunting and the fishing and whatnot. And you've been a member of a number of hunting clubs through the years. I think Wardlaw Lamar used to talk about one down in the Alligator River. Was there? Is it?
Big lodge, yes. We had a lot of hunting down there. Still have that lodge down there. It's
Oh, really?
A wonderful place there. And
Is it true there are no like indoor facilities and whatnot there?
it is. It's out in the middle of the water.
Uh-huh.
And you have to get to it by boat. There's no electricity, so everything is gas fired, gas stove, gas refrigerator, gas facilities and everything there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a wonderful place there. But you gotta like outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like outdoors, it's not fun. So,
Well, and Dr. Bloom was telling me about when y'all go to Argentina, and I thought the history of how you help the farmers down there by supporting them and renting land from them. Tell us that story. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit now, so many things, but we first went down there, these were poor people.
Mm-hmm.
And we would hire them to pick up empty shells and pick up birds for us. And they got so, at first they didn't want the meat. They didn't think duck meat was any good.
Mm-hmm.
And we had them cook some for us. And once they found out how good it was, now they crave it and they feed their families off of that. So, but it's a strange life. We hunted on horseback down there in the middle of swamps. I would call it swamp. I don't know what it would be, but huge places there. But international hunting was fun. Dr. Bloom and I enjoyed several trips down there.
Well,
and other people in Rocky Mountain.
And you help the economy down there. I mean, you pay them and you help get rid of the predators on their farms too by shooting.
No question.
No limits to the numbers that you could shoot, I think was very different.
You could shoot any birds you wanted, but you didn't. You didn't really shoot that. There was no limit.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of always said if you shoot 50 ducks a day, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of stopped. But you could shoot hundreds. And while we were down there one time, the world record for dove shooting was accomplished by people, not us.
Mm-hmm.
I think they shot some 12, 14, 1,500 doves in one day's time. And we didn't, we didn't subscribe to that.
Yeah.
We shot what we ate and enjoyed it.
And help the locals. The pins that you make, I think the history of that is very interesting.
What?
The pins that you make for people who visit.
Oh.
Tell us about those, please.
Well, they took the place of pins.
Writing pins.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about pins, pin-on pins.
Oh, okay.
That kind of pins. I assume it's what you're referring to.
Sure.
Martha and I have been fortunate to travel many places around the world, and each place we went, they would give you a pin to commemorate you having been there. So I put them on my head. What do you do with a pin? Put it on the desk, look at it, put it in a drawer.
If you're a Boy Scout, you can put it around.
That's right. Got a Boy Scout sash and put them on there. But I put them on my head. On my head got so heavy. Pins that so when I became a member of a gun club down in Currituck, I wanted some kind of memento of people who came. It's a wonderful club. So I started carving miniature decoys, about yay big. I'll show you some sometime.
Okay.
And I carved one each year for 28 years of a different species, a duck, a goose, a swan, a bluebill, a redhead, a blackhead, all those. And I started off carving about 125 a year, and I found I needed about 100 a year. So for 28 years, I carved 100 decoys every year. And incidentally, I did most of my carving while sitting in a deer stand. You're sitting and watching, but I could carve while still looking outside, you know. But I had a great time doing that, and it's reported they're going to put a set of my decoys in the Wildlife Museum at Corolla, and I'd be proud of that if they do.
Oh, and well, they should. Well, we're wrapping up here. Talk briefly about how you see Rocky Mount now and the future of Rocky Mount. I just tend to think with your positive attitude and your involvement with your faith, with Lakeside, been a long time supporter and member there, and reflect on the future.
Well, I'm high on Rocky Mount. Several times I've had opportunities to get to dealerships in other part of the state that were probably on the rise or had already risen. And we decided we didn't want to do that. We want to stay in Rocky Mount. Rocky Mountain's got a great future. Sure, we got problems. We all got problems. But I see Rocky Mountain as a growing place there, and a place to be, and a place to live. Heck, we're out of the high rent district of Raleigh, but within driving distance of facilities, or recreation facilities, and any kind of ventures you want to have. But that also that far from the coast. We're in an excellent location, excellent weather. Just need to get a few things straight. We're gonna make it. We're gonna be good.
And I don't think you find any nicer people anywhere.
Y'all gonna find nice people anywhere. My next door neighbor decided to move from north. He came down here and drove through, saw Rocky Mountain, said, I like this, and drove around and said, I want to live here, and moved here.
Great.
Now, isn't that an endorsement? That's great. That's right.
Well, he won the lottery living next door to you, though.
I don't know about that, but he was so happy. His children now have moved down to other parts of the state. So that's Rocky Mountain.
It is Rocky
I can
Mountain.
understand why people come and why they stay.
Well, and I think you embody a lot of the characteristics and a lot of things we love about Rocky Mountain. So, Don, thank you for.
I'm not sure of that, but thank you.
Well, appreciate you sharing your time with us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon.